very bizarre over the weekend. I mean, we can start with saying Southampton 3 Tottenham Hotspur, which is interesting in and of itself. Ward-Prowse scoring a last-minute penalty there. But the real drama occurred after the game in post-match interviews, but largely in the post-match press conference, where Antonio Conte appeared to blame everyone and everything apart from himself. I haven't got the quote. Can you dig out the quote for me, Steve, so I can read that in a moment?
Because it's long though.
I'll pick the choice bits as you guys chat about this. But John and I have a friend who's a Spurs fan. We chatted to him about this last night. And he said, aside from how he feels about tactics and the system and winning, as a fan of the team, Conte has to go because he's massively disrespected the team. He said he hates him now more than he ever hated Jose Mourinho, which must be a lot. I mean, what do you think? Is it okay afterwards to say all those things that I haven't got here to say yet, but I will say after you've said whether it's okay or not to say?
Well, I just started reading How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? Yeah. And it talks a lot about how like criminals who do bad things will often blame everyone except themselves. They'll never look inwards.
Conte's a criminal.
No, but this is the point: is that like, people often fail to look inwards and see what's wrong with. I know, never blame themselves. Which is...
Oh, look, I've got the quote. Steve put them in. Shall I read them for a bit of structure?
Yeah, sure, we'll come back to where they are. Yeah.
So he described his players as selfish. He said that Spurs could change the manager, but the situation cannot change. He said that his team don't want to help each other. He said Tottenham's story is this: 20 years there is this owner, and they've never won something. Why? He said... He said the fault is only for the club. For every manager that's here, I've seen the managers that Tottenham have had on the bench. You risk to disrupt the figure of the manager and to protect other situation in every way. I mean, also he said until now I tried to hide the situation, which he obviously wasn't doing a very good job. But it's a bit mad, isn't it? Spurs did come back with this quite funny statement, sort of trying to say, "Oh no, he didn't mean us. He meant like something else. He wasn't talking about Daniel Levy. He meant like a different thing. You misunderstood it." Well,
on one hand, I think he needs to look outwards and see that there are other factors of why it hasn't quite worked. On the other hand, I can sort of completely agree with what he's saying.
Do you?
Well, the players he has...
Then why isn't he doing as well as Pochettino did? If it's all the club...
Well, look, Pochettino had a team. He had like Alderweireld Vertonghen, who at their peak. He had the France captain Lloris at his peak. He had Harry Kane, one of the best strikers in the world, at his peak.
He bought many of those players.
No one was saying these players were good until he was there.
That's true. And also, Antonio Conte, Spurs have spent nearly £200 million under Antonio Conte.
On nonsense, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, how much of that is...
I don't know. I don't know how much the club are buying players that the manager doesn't actually want. Jed Spence got bought for like 25 million or something like that. And like Ryan Sessegnon.
I think he was a club signing, wasn't he?
That sounds like there's a few of them that we've got there. So like Conte has a squad that is good enough to be amongst the top 8 or whatever. But as Conte pointed out, there's a load of teams that are going for those 4 slots. Conte just sounds like Mourinho now. Like it's not his fault, but he could play a different way maybe. But Conte plays this way, and he knows that's what wins. And this guy's a serial winner. Like everywhere he goes, he wins stuff in playing a certain way.
I would say I have to disrespectfully disagree with you because the main notion here it seems to be that Tottenham haven't won a trophy for 20 years, right? Like we had a conversation 2 weeks ago about what the actual value of a trophy is beyond the league or the Premier League or the Champions League, for example. So there's that. Also, for large periods of the last 10 years, Tottenham have outperformed their wage budget, right? They just have.
They overperform in miles, yeah.
Yeah, so like the idea that because they haven't won a trophy means that they're a failure club is it absolutely stupid?
I
mean, it's literally
the
stupid.
fans enjoyed it for a long time when Pochettino was there. And when he left the club, I remember seeing them lose to Newcastle at the new stadium, and they were dreadful. They had no width, no pace, no nothing. And if that was Pochettino's squad building, I don't get it why everyone loves him so much. Because
towards the end of his time there.
Yeah, sure. And whether that's his fault, whether he's buying Lo Celso and not players he actually definitely needs in these positions, or whether that's the club doing it, I don't know the insides exactly.
I forgot that JJ hates Pochettino. I forgot about
his agenda. I think
he gets Pochettino, a lot of... they literally had like 2 or 3 windows where they didn't buy anyone. Yeah. Like I can't even get my head around.
It was Lucas Moura broke that duck of not signing anyone, didn't it? Lucas Moura.
You go through a lot of Pochettino signings, and not all, like that's the same with a lot of managers. Not everyone's very good. But this is my point. I don't know if it's Pochettino or the club doing it.
Yeah.
Whereas like Conte's come in as one of the best or most highly regarded managers in the world, and he was before before he started to melt down.
And they've given him tens of millions, hundreds of
They've
millions
given lots
of
of money, but again, is he getting exactly what he wants in, or what's?
Well,
Reguilon was his player.
Perisic is very clearly a Conte signing,
and he was signed for free though.
Pedro Porro, who is maybe the most expensive, one of the most expensive wing backs of all time, is very clearly a Conte signing. Who's also,
It could be club though, because you look at who the available upcoming wing backs are, and Porro's been on the.
I think Pedro Porro's probably like. I'm not saying
Porro's been on like scouts list for years.
Of course, I'm not saying he wouldn't have been on every top elite club will have every good player on every scouting list. So that's not really, that doesn't mean it's a club signing. But I would have thought that buying a very kind of specific technical wing back is most likely to be a Conte signing when you have Conte as your manager.
Well, that is sort of relevant, because then you look at who the next manager would be and who's going to come in, and then are you going to bring in someone who will suit the players they've got just now? Like Porro is more of a wing back from what I've seen of Porro. He's more of a wing back than a full back.
He is a wing back.
You could play him there, right?
Yeah.
So that means you've probably got to play him higher up unless you're playing a Klopp wing back four system.
Okay, let me ask you this. Let me ask this in two stages, right?
Yes.
Forget about the football and whether Conte should be there for the rest of the season or not because of that.
Yeah.
Is it okay as a manager to say those things about your players and the owner and the club and the sort of culture of 20 years of failure after a game where you draw 3-3 with a team that can't score a goal and are bottom of the league? Is it okay to say that and keep your job? Or are you supposed to? And again, I know we should acknowledge Antonio Conte had a very difficult year. There's nothing. I have nothing against him personally. I hope he is recovering from his surgery, and I'm sorry for the bereavement that he has incurred this year. Of course, that makes all of these conversations difficult. But at the same time, is it okay to say all those things and then keep your job? Like that's
probably
enough
not,
to be said
because
anyway, right?
because you can't. It's damaging to the club's reputation. It makes them look stupid, and it is damaging for PR. So that's
now,
one thing.
Forget about that and just think about the football. Is it better to, given that his contract expires at the end of the season anyway, I'm pretty sure, is it better to just keep him for the rest of the year because Newcastle look like they have less of a chance of finishing fourth than they did earlier in the season? Everyone else fighting for that fourth position. Maybe Liverpool coming back into it. Like, this argument is a bit tough. Brighton, of course, could do it as well. Is it better to keep him and then just get a new manager in the summer, or is it better to pay the money now to get rid of him and try?
Spurs' thinking has to be long term. What they're doing, they went from Mourinho, who in that documentary said all the same things that Conte is saying, exactly the same stuff.
Yeah,
like they're not nasty enough, so they can't play in that way. So then you've got to play in this. If you've got to play a more attacking way, you need to bring in a manager who does that.
Yes.
And then what you'll find probably is the same sort of issues where some of the players they've got don't have that winning nasty streak in them. Maybe that's what the thing is. But do you need that? I mean, like Guardiola's got away with it. Like,
what do you think,
I feel like people talk about Spurs in a weird way that ignores what Pochettino did a lot, because the squad is not that similar anymore to Pochettino's squad. I don't know. I don't like the idea that there's this inherent curse running through the club that makes all the players soft.
I mean, it's just Kane and Son and Dyer, isn't it? And Lloris.
Pretty much, yeah. It's those four. But like Pochettino got them to a Champions League final. They came
playing Moussa Sissoko
and Harry Winks in central midfield. They came second the year that Conte won the league at Chelsea, and they came third the season before that. But they were like second all season. So like, it's not the club isn't cursed. If Conte and Jose are saying all the same things and blaming the players for being too soft, I feel like that speaks to their managerial flaws that they have. I mean, it's a fairly recent thing with Conte as well, because it's kind of the first place he's really failed in the league that I can think of.
Sure.
I don't know if he's failing though. He's pretty much
they're
doing
fourth,
okay.
but you know what I mean. Like it's more underwhelming than his Inter or his Chelsea. And Mourinho's been kind of, at Premier League level with the top clubs. Like it was clear from his last stint at Chelsea that he was a bad hire for Spurs.
Sure.
But it's not impossible to succeed with Tottenham, and the way managers speak, I feel like passes the buck a bit. And basically, they should sack Conte now, give it Mason to the end of the season, and then bring Poch back.
I like how you got a lot more London when you said give it Mason.
Give it Mason to the end of the season. Yeah.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.